Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for having us
afternoon.
here in the beautiful TopFruit offices in, is this Paul or Simondium?
Simondium. You must
Okay.
get your geography right.
No, but does it fall under Paul or under Franschhoek? Probably in the middle.
Yeah.
No.
We cater for everyone.
Good.
There you go. That's a good point of departure. There you go.
Yeah, so this afternoon we're talking about kiwis.
Yeah.
So please introduce yourselves for the few that don't know. We would like to learn more about kiwis.
Okay.
Are you looking for good photos for your fresh produce? Like this beautiful kiwis we're standing in. Just come and look at our stock site. These photos will probably be on there sometime and then you can come and buy them.
For those who don't know me, my name is Rob Meihuizen. I'm the CEO of the TopFruit Group. TopFruit Group started in South Africa as TopFruit Pty Limited and has been involved in the management of intellectual property in the South African industry and then later in the African industry for many years now. We celebrated our 40th birthday last year. But recently we invested globally in opportunities that we saw as new opportunities, exciting opportunities. And today we're going to talk about Kiwifruit, which we're very excited about.
Yes, so are we.
Exciting. Will you please introduce me?
Now, next to me is Nick Steyn. Nick Steyn is the business manager of KiwiKo. KiwiKo is a joint venture company that we set up in the Netherlands to manage the Kiwifruit varieties bred in Yanoon Biotech by Professor Wang. And we've been looking at those for the last 6 years and are very excited to be involved in that program and to bring that program to the world. And Nick is the business manager of that business. The business is a partnership between TopFruit International and 3 New Zealand parties, Murray Malone, Ross Stevenson and Colin Stevenson. And they've been in the kiwifruit industry for decades. So the advantage of that partnership is they come with the experience of how to produce kiwifruit and understanding the product and understanding the production and the marketing and the branding and the opportunity for new varieties. And TopFruit has the experience in managing that and creating brands and setting up relationships around the world.
That's incredibly enterprising of you guys to branch out into something completely new and also to find partners across the world. But I know that you've done this once or twice before, but now you're in kiwis. So, and your partners are Kiwis from New Zealand. So it's very interesting. From an outsider, completely outsider's perspective, what I knew about Kiwifruit before the last 5 or 10 years was that kiwis weren't really going anywhere. We had green kiwis and they were just plodding along. And there suddenly seems to be quite a boom in kiwifruit. And it's obviously part of what's motivated you to do all of this. Or maybe because you do, that's the boom. Tell us a little bit more.
No, I think we think our timing was good. We agree with you. We think that kiwifruit was quite a boring category. It still is probably relatively boring if you compare it with apples and pears and table grapes and all the other varieties. As you say, Hayward has been still the variety that's most planted and sold as green kiwifruit. And recently there's been some innovation with new varieties, Chinensis gold varieties that have been commercialized in the world and commercialized very well. And that's created a different eating experience for kiwi fruit lovers, whereas you had the acidic Hayward as the only option. Now you have the sweeter gold kiwi as a very attractive option to a wider market. And that's what's created the interest in the space from the consumer, from the retailers, and also from the producers. And that's creating the opportunity for the whole category to develop. And we're very excited to be involved in subcategories in kiwifruit now and are excited about the fact that we have traditional green, sweet green, which is a Chinensis green, which tastes more like a gold kiwifruit and red kiwifruit.
That's incredible. So suddenly from one type of kiwifruit there are now 4.
4 categories. Many varieties, but 4 categories.
Okay, categories. Thank you for pointing that out.
How many international breeders are there? Or breeders of kiwifruit is in the world?
I'm not exactly sure, but there would only be a handful, probably 10 or 20 maximum. And those would be, most of them would probably be in China. Kiwifruit originated in China. It was called a Chinese gooseberry. Then the New Zealanders took it to New Zealand and professionalized it and called it Kiwifruit, which is very good for the fruit type. And so there's still a very good, probably the biggest and best breeding program in the world is still in New Zealand. But then in China, there are a handful. And then in Italy and a few other markets, there are also Kiwifruit breeding programs.
Okay.
Okay.
The biggest thing that I learned about kiwi fruit in the last 2 years, since we've been dealing with it a little bit, is that everybody would think kiwi fruit is a tropical or subtropical fruit, whereas in a matter of fact, it's not a tropical fruit at all, from my understanding.
Well, it depends on what you're referring to as tropical. Where it's produced could be what you're referring to, but the flavor of a lot of the newer varieties is more tropical and more exotic. Okay. So that's probably why they call it. And also the origin of kiwi fruit was in the tropics of China. So that's why it's probably referred to, but most of the breeding and improvement has been in the more moderate Mediterranean climates, yes. Where you have higher chilling requirements and the plants lose their leaves.
Yeah, the first time I saw it was in George 2 years ago, where they told us they actually had to cool the vines down in winter to give them enough chill units to get optimal fruit on what do you call them? You call them vines?
I don't know. Ask the professionals. And I think you should tell us a little bit more about KiwiKo's activities. In what country do you have a footprint, and how's it going? I mean, the company's quite new. It's 5 years old. Is that correct?
Yes. So KiwiKo, even though TopFruit started investigating kiwifruit more than 5 years ago, KiwiKo was officially only created in 2020. So we've only, by halfway through this year, we'll be going 5 years. So it's relatively new, especially in our kind of industry.
COVID baby.
It's you could say that. And so KiwiKo is relatively new. And we initially, from the get-go, the idea with the concept with KiwiKo was to create a company that manages kiwifruit varieties globally. So we have a source, as Rob's mentioned, a breeding program in China that we represent, and then we set out to identify firstly partners or create a network. It's very important for us in the existing kiwifruit industries in the world. So we started out focusing on Europe, in North America, South America, especially Chile, in South Africa, which is actually a new industry, a kiwifruit industry, in Australia, in the East, also in Japan, South Korea. So we started out with those kind of as our territories, our industry, and setting up a network there. And now we're also looking to, now that we've been going a few years and we're slowly making progress in those places, to new opportunities. For example, to give you an example, India looks very promising for kiwifruit in the future. So we've got quite a big footprint, and even though it's still very young.
Why does India look so promising for the future?
So India, as a market, they are consuming more kiwifruit and like kiwifruit, but also India has the right climate and in areas that can produce kiwifruit, and I think the interest has been growing. So and there are now partners that have I think the understanding and the capabilities to manage protected varieties and the production of protected varieties. So just a few things coming together, making India a very big local market. So we think there's a lot of promise.
So that's exciting.
So the main production in India would be for India?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Everybody's been talking about India the last couple of months.
Well, a lot of people.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of people.
But so from the start, from when KiwiKo started and developed, how has the growth been? And how have your initiatives taken off and been successful? How's it going?
So it's a good time now to ask that question after almost 5 years, because it's very slow in the beginning. And as I said, setting out, we were looking to find the right partners first. So that's our first starting point. And now that we've been going 5 years, it's good to look back and say, well, we've managed to appoint master licensees or representatives in all of the territories that I've mentioned that we were focusing on, and we've introduced, it's very new, so we've introduced our varieties and we've started evaluation of our varieties, and now at this time we've started commercializing some of our varieties and now close to commercializing further varieties. So I think we're at an exciting stage where we're beginning to gain some momentum.
That's fantastic. And the uptake from the growers, there's excitement and enthusiasm. They're wanting to plant this.
Especially after the last week's field day, that definitely.
Oh,
I think
yes. Tell us about your field day. We saw photographs. We were very jealous that we weren't there. But next year.
Did Lisa not invite you?
That's it. We were busy. It just didn't happen. But you know what's going to happen next year? Tell us about the field day.
So the field day was, we've always in the past had field days at the breeding program, but we've said that we would like to have in future field days in an area where we could maybe do it at a larger scale, do in a more commercial, grow the varieties in a more commercial setting to showcase the potential. So this was the first, this is an idea that's long been in the making, and this year was our first field day in South Africa as KiwiKo, so being an international field day with international guests from all our different territories. And it was also the first fruiting season of our latest varieties. So we had about 30 guests from different countries, and about 20 local farmers and guests also joined the field day. And I think the feedback we had afterwards is that everyone enjoyed it very much and found it very insightful. And we're getting very good feedback, and people are very excited to come again, because our idea is that we will continue this annually, having field days, and there'll be more to see.
Fantastic.
Was there any people at the field day that were interested in starting growing kiwis that were that's never done it before, that came because they're interested in either diversifying their crop or switching completely, or was it existing growers?
I would think it's all existing growers who are looking to grow more, learn more, know more. That was what we focused on, our current relationships. Obviously, there were one or two who are potential growers, but that wasn't the focus. The focus was on our existing partners and to show them what we have and to get them excited, to see if they were excited by what they saw, which I think they all were.
And your varieties, they are grown across several different climatic regions. So is there any particular region of our country which is more suited, or is it different stroke for different folks, different varieties in different places?
The thing that we're most excited about, and that is why we wanted to have the field day in South Africa, is that the breeding program is a hot climate breeding program.
Okay.
So the varieties are all more tolerant to heat. And New Zealand is probably the most ideal kiwi fruit growing country in the world, but the rest of the world is not like New Zealand. So it is important to find varieties that are well suited to the rest of the world. And that's what we believe we have, and that's what we showed people when they were here. So you can grow most of our varieties in 150 to 300 to 400 chilling hours. And they grow best in better conditions, but they can grow well in hot climates. So that's what we wanted to show growers.
Okay, and one of the things that I've picked up kind of from looking at the growth in the kiwi industry, particularly in South Africa, is that our kiwis ripen in a very good marketing window internationally, and that has been behind the impetus for a lot of the growth. Have I got this right? Is this kind of something that makes sense?
No, you got 100% correct. At the moment, the greatest opportunity is the window in which the market is empty. But wearing a Kiwi Connection, TopFruit's also invested in a local company which is called the Kiwi Connection, which is trying to organize the industry in South Africa and evaluate all the varieties that are available and choose the best varieties for our growers to grow and to market. And the opportunity was really identified and created around this window. But that window will fill very quickly if we do our job properly.
When is the time?
It's shipments from South Africa about now for 8 weeks. So it's arriving in the market
mid-February to
April.
Mid-March to end of April probably,
Okay, well, it's sometimes things like that, the window that will drive the industry. Isn't that incredible? And that we fit in there. And as you say, it's a hot climate. We have a hot climate in the Southern Hemisphere. I would imagine. Is our stuff a lot earlier than New Zealand?
I'd say not a lot, but we are earlier. We
Earlier.
are our geographic location, our proximity to the market,
Yes.
shipping is much shorter period, and also our ripening periods are earlier than theirs, and some of our new varieties are earlier than their current varieties. So I think those three factors will mean that we can be there earlier, but hopefully if we do a good job with the earlier fruit, we'll continue, and we'll
Okay, and
and
what's
do more than just gold. The opportunity currently is for gold kiwi fruit, but there's a massive market. The biggest market for kiwi fruit is still green kiwi fruit, and
really?
yeah, and so that's what
Okay.
we're most excited about is our green varieties, because we have improvements on Haywards that are a month earlier than Hayward, more productive than Hayward, taste better than Hayward, look better than Hayward, farm better than Hayward, which is the variety that's been around for 100 years. And then we have those that are the same time, but also we believe better than Hayward. So that's a huge opportunity just on its own. So, but then in every category there will be opportunity.
That is very interesting that the biggest market is still for the traditional green kiwi.
In the world, yes.
My goodness. And since we're talking about marketing window in the Southern Hemisphere, what's happening in South America?
Well, Chile is a much bigger producer than South Africa of kiwi fruit, and they've always had a very healthy kiwi fruit industry and very good kiwi fruit growers and marketers. In the last few years, that the volume of hectares they produced halved, and it was kiwi fruit was struggling. But now with the new varieties available and the new interest from growers and the new interest from the market, I think the important thing to say is that we believe that the kiwi fruit opportunity is market pulled. So it's not being pushed. The market is looking for more fruit, looking for alternative fruit, looking for more varieties, looking for variation. So it's an exciting space as opposed to pushing to be pulled. Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then the growers should get better returns as well.
Yeah, if they do if we all do our job properly, it should be. Yeah.
Interesting. So, I was going to ask something, but I forgot now. Must have wanted to lie.
Something that we are blessed that we go and we speak to people and we learn a lot along the way. Something that I had no idea about. We actually learned from Rolf.
Rule of. Yeah.
He was explaining to us that kiwi fruit have male and female plants. And that's a whole different ballgame. And that there's the whole issue with having to pollinate them and getting hold of the pollen, and that there's a whole business opportunity down that line as well. That's very interesting.
Is that something you guys would be looking into as well?
Yeah, I think obviously if you're involved in the kiwi fruit industry, you need to know about pollen and you need to be aware of pollen and you need to take pollen seriously, because kiwi fruit plants need to be pollinated. So either it's got to be a natural process through a male that you've planted nearby and bees that you provided, or through artificial pollination. And that's in kiwi fruit is a big industry where pollen is produced, harvested, processed, and then shipped to wherever it's required. So that is an opportunity, yes.
Is there growers currently that's only growing for pollen?
In the world, yes. In South Africa, I'm not aware of any who are growing only for pollen, but I think that will come.
Okay.
Because South Africa is very well situated for pollen production.
Yeah.
We have no PSA here yet. Hopefully it never comes.
Yes, tell us about what that acronym means.
I knew you were going to ask me. Nick, you know?
So yeah, I can give it a go. So PSA is a Pseudomonas ringi actinidia. So it's specific to kiwi. It's a kiwi-specific Pseudomonas bacteria, and that devastated the kiwi industry. I think around 2012 in many areas, mainly in Europe and in New Zealand, where at that point the varieties that had been growing. Specifically Chinensis, so yellow varieties, were susceptible to the disease, and so it crushed a big part of the industry. Green, the old green variety was tolerant, so that continued, and through management practices could be controlled. But that is a big concern till today. Probably the biggest concern from a disease perspective still for kiwi fruit. So it's something to consider when developing new varieties, but then especially for pollen, you would want to guarantee that your pollen, if you buy pollen, is PSA-free. So in that sense, South Africa has the advantage in that we do not have PSA, where most kiwi fruit industries, kiwi fruit industries have PSA. We are still PSA-free, so we can produce PSA-free pollen potentially and even export to other industries.
That was my question. Is there any, because it's not a fresh product that must be cooled
So it is stored. It's frozen, so it needs to be kept frozen.
So will that then need to go through like a similar protocols for exporting fruit to other countries?
So there will be phytosanitary and all kinds of requirements with pollen. Yes, so there are protocols for doing that.
And is there current protocols in place so that we don't get some of that PSA pollen into South
I was
Africa?
going to ask that question.
So that's mainly controlled. So for example, in South Africa, we source, I think, most of the pollen that's used for artificial pollination from the United States, which is also PSA-free.
Okay.
And I think so that's something you need to control in that way. I'm not exactly familiar with certification or phytosanitary protocols for that, but that's the best way to control it is if you know your source, that area where you're sourcing from is PSA-free then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the PSA presents both a massive threat, and if you are PSA-free, it presents an opportunity with the being able to produce the pollen. But you want to maintain it in those. You have to be very careful that the PSA doesn't arrive here.
Correct.
And I suppose it's something that could come in quite innocuously when somebody is bringing in a fruit or a leaf or something like that.
Is it only attached to the pollen or is it attached to the plant material?
No, it can be plant material. That's why any plant material imported goes through a quarantine process, and oftentimes, so all of the existing kiwifruit industries, those countries will have a very strict protocol for importing plant material.
So it could happen that I go visit my long lost grandmother in Australia, or PSA country, and I say, well, I want a cutting, and I get to slip it through the border. It could come in that way.
It could come in, and you could end up in jail if you do that. So I would suggest against that.
Yeah, we know about that, yes, especially with the citrus varieties with HLB that is.
Yeah.
That they are very strict in bringing plant material into South Africa.
That is a risk. Yeah, that's
interesting.
And sometimes people do it so innocuously. They've got no idea, so they're bringing in
That's
something
the thing,
like
if you don't know,
they're
you don't
bringing
know.
in something like dried herbs or something, and then they've got no idea that what they're doing could potentially devastate an industry. So I mean, good luck with keeping South Africa PSA free, and we hope it stays that way. Because are they making any inroads on PSA prevention?
so. Like I said, in after 2012, the focus on new varieties is finding varieties that are PSA tolerant.
Okay.
So that's always a question. You want to determine, are your new varieties PSA tolerant, and that would be the best way.
So just shift up a little bit. You're sitting in front of the camera. Okay.
So the nice thing for us to discover, or to realize recently, is that some of our new varieties are PSA tolerant. They've been planted in evaluation blocks in areas that are PSA prone, and they've shown resistance. Tolerance, yeah.
How does the PSA spread? Is there insect spreading it? Does it spread soil pathogens?
No, it's. I think there are a few common ways. One is plant material. One could be pruning equipment that was contaminated, being used in one orchard and then used in another orchard. So I would say, because it's a kiwi specific PSA, it will be either kiwi plant material, or it could be through a person, usually a person with that person's equipment, whether it be a pruning equipment or whatever else that's been in an infected area and then visits an uninfected area.
So there's not a pest that could be transmitting it?
No, to my knowledge, there's no insect vector or anything like that.
Okay.
But what you were mentioning, that you've discovered that some of your varieties are PSA tolerant, that must come as quite a relief.
It's a great relief, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So the growth in the kiwi fruit industry and the demand for kiwi fruit, anything in particular that's driving that? Does it have particular health qualities? I mean, kiwi fruit are nice to eat. They're very beautiful to look at. Is there any kind of clue why there's such an interest?
Well, I think during COVID, it was discovered, although it was known before, but I think more generally the population discovered that a kiwi fruit has the correct amount of vitamin C for you for a day. So you eat a kiwi fruit a day, you've got more than enough vitamin C. In fact, I think it's got more vitamin C than you need. But whichever way it is It is a good source of vitamin C. And so people started eating more kiwi fruit as a way to stay healthy. And I think in the modern generation, fortunately, the youth are more health conscious than we were.
I think in COVID, if you told them this table has got vitamin C, and they would have ate that as well. But it led to a lot of new growth in the industries.
And all kinds of interesting things. For instance, raisins took off during COVID, something unbelievable, because people were they're looking for something sweet, they're looking for something to snack on. So now I can't have a sweetie, but the raisin is the next best thing. And also people were at home and they were baking. So suddenly they want to bake and they want to put... I'm pleased Kiwifruit was also in the COVID discovery era. And Kiwifruit are so beautiful for displays as well. So I can imagine that people would use them in the catering industry quite a lot as well.
And I also think that the flavor profile of the new generation that's been bred is substantially different to the old Hayward one.
Yes.
And also people involved in the industry are spending more time and effort in delivering a good quality product to the market that eats well. And so people enjoy eating kiwi fruit, as opposed to just having it in a fruit salad.
Yeah.
So a lot of people now eat a kiwi fruit a day.
So there is the amazing thing about R&D. People were saying, can you quantify why research and development in the fruit industry is important? I mean, if you would go back and you look at what was available 20 years ago in all fruit, but particularly kiwi fruit, as you say, not the sweetest of fruit. And suddenly you've got this whole new range which is appealing to people. That's brilliant news.
What is the storageability of the new varieties? I've heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that some of the older varieties you could store in controlled atmosphere for a short period of time and pack it a little bit later.
Well, I think Hayward stores well. In most producing areas, it's traditionally stored very well. So whether that's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months, depends on the producer, depends on how they pick it, how they grow it.
In controlled atmosphere.
And how they store it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So generally the Hayward variety has been known to store well. The newer stuff, there are a few varieties now that are exceptional in their storage. 6 months easily, maybe not easily, but they can store up to 6 months or maybe even to 9 months. So the important thing is that when the consumer eats a kiwi, that they have a good experience. So storage is one of those things. So that's when people are breeding new varieties, storage is a serious consideration.
Certainly. So we've spoken a lot about KiwiKo, but I also have a question about the Kiwi Connection. It's the South African company, is that correct?
Yeah.
How are they doing with setting up the industry, getting all the regulations in place and having an industry body? And I mean, it's always difficult to set up an industry or to allow and help an industry to mature, to have everything that they need. How's it going?
Well, there is an industry body, South African Kiwifruit Grows.
Yeah.
And there are, the way we set up the Kiwi Connection was to try and be a vehicle for the industry, to create an industry, because if you're very fragmented, it's more difficult. So we tried to create a vehicle that would be less fragmented and have the resources to support growers, to get access to new varieties, to get access to technical knowledge around how to farm them, how to prepare them for harvest, how to harvest them, how to store them, how to ship them, how to market them,
what to spray, how much you're allowed to,
all the different
what's
things
allowed.
that a mature fruit industry has. And it's been challenging, but it's exciting because I think we're starting to feel that the industry is emerging. There's less than 1,000 hectares of kiwi fruit in South Africa, and we believe thousands of hectares are the potential. We have the right climates to produce good kiwi fruit that can compete with most kiwi fruit in the world. We just need to together find the right sites, the right farmers, access the finance, do the job properly, and create the industry, which we're busy trying to do.
And are you managing? Are you successful in turning people's heads? Are traditional growers and something else? Are they diversifying into kiwi fruit?
I would say some are looking at it. The kiwi fruit industry has been started more by non-traditional fruit growers who got involved, which is great because they were entrepreneurial and saw the opportunity where they didn't have fruit. So on that side, well, they must be applauded. The other side is they're not used to a lot of the disciplines and the an understanding of what growing fruit is and requires. So that's had us challenges. But I think all the players are finding themselves, and I think the future is bright.
I've looked at kiwis, and I've been in a couple of kiwi orchards that I could easily see a table grape farmer pivoting towards kiwis, because you might have most of the structure already. So it could be an alternative crop for them to look at.
If you can grow table grapes, you'll be able to grow kiwis, because I think it's easier to grow kiwi fruit than table grapes.
Yeah, because you're working with one fruit mostly with
the bunch,
40.
yeah. And it's a far hardier plant and a hardier product. But you still would have to learn how to grow kiwi fruit.
Yeah, obviously. But in terms of, let's say there's a table grape farmer that want to diversify now, maybe get a different crop. It's not like he's got to go establish a citrus orchard or a apple or pear orchard.
Yeah, I think the challenge with traditional fruit farmers has been to demonstrate to them that sustainably kiwi fruit farming can earn more than farming apples or table grapes. And that's been the challenge. A lot of people have grown kiwi fruit successfully, but they haven't got the 30, 40, 50 tons, and they haven't got to the market in the right condition and got the results. So that's what we're aiming to do, is to show producers how to get 30 tons and upward, and how to get it marketed so that you get a better return than you would for table grapes or apples, in which case you would consider planting some kiwi fruit as well as your apples.
I'm just thinking, if you've got an old block of table grapes, a variety that's not in demand, you want to replace it.
It's a different structure. It's a much stronger.
I was going to ask that, if you put 30 tons on that structure, would a traditional table grape structure hold that weight or not?
Well, your plant is heavier than a table grape vine, the kiwi vine. It's bigger.
Okay.
So you would need to have a stronger structure for 30 tons of kiwi fruit than you do for table grapes.
Interesting. Okay, so tell us about what is KiwiKo looking at down the road? What's new? What's on the horizon? Anything exciting? You already said that you're going to be having the field days more regularly. That's exciting. What else?
So that's, I think we definitely have something that's very exciting in the future. I mean, we, as I said, slowly gaining momentum, slowly getting to the point of commercializing some of our varieties. And the next step, which for us is very exciting, is the development of a brand for our fruit. So it is our vision to establish a global brand that all of our fruit that's produced, KiwiKo varieties, are sold into in that brand. So I mean, we are in the process of working on that. So it's not there yet, but it's a very exciting process, and I think that's we're looking very forward to that very much, to have a product and to have a brand and to have something that can excite consumers. And I think we have a very good team with experience in developing brands, so we're very excited about what we will achieve.
Do you think that creating a brand around kiwi fruit could boost its sales?
I think so. I believe so, for different reasons. I think kiwi fruit, as we've hinted towards a little bit, is not a big percentage of the fruit bowl in many markets. So there's several advantages. One thing is to create a bit more awareness of what there is available, of the different categories that there is, and I think it's easier to communicate if you have one brand that a consumer can recognize and all the people in the value chain can recognize. I think there's also challenges with kiwi fruit always having been maybe not a fruit that you want to eat, the old Hayward bean. It's more acidic, maybe not as sweet. To communicate the message that this is something new and exciting, better tasting. So that I think there are many ways in which the brand can increase interest and therefore also increase demand, but also have a quality assurance that the consumer knows, this is, if I buy this, I know it's going to be something that tastes good. So yeah, I think we believe that they definitely it will increase the demand.
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
So such a nice space to be in, that you're not about to do this. And, with the new colors, it's like before you even taste it, you can see it looks different, which helps. Because, who's looking and who's tasting? There are far more people looking than get to taste. So it's one of those wonderful points of departure that you have something that looks different, which can actually encourage people to try and buy it and taste it?
I normally buy it. If I see something weird and wonderful, I'll buy it. Normally let the kids taste it first. If they like it, I would.
Based on their reaction,
Yeah, I
you
would,
decide.
yeah.
But you joke about it, but isn't that how most shopping is done? Is that it's look mom or look dad, there's something I'd like to try. And that's how parents often buy food for the
But
kids.
because we work in the fruit
Yes,
industry,
I
if I
know.
see something different on the shelf, I would be
Yes.
curious as to what it is, what it tastes like, that kind of thing. It's not there for, and like certain things, you look at it, there's 2 fruit in a packet for 40 Rand. So it must be something good or in demand at a good price.
I think we're kind of getting to the point where we can wrap up. Is there anything we didn't ask you that you'd like to say, or anything that you'd like to add or expand upon? Looking down the road, particularly with the kiwis.
I think the only thing I wanted to add is that we see it as a Kiwi community, not a New Zealand Kiwi community, but a Kiwi fruit community, and doing it together, we've got far greater chance of being successful than trying to do it in isolation, just one country or one territory or one variety. And so we're trying to develop our business in such a way that everyone involved feels it's their business, their brand, their products. And I think, and even the consumer. So we want to be able to communicate right through to the consumer so that the Mrs. Consumer or Mr. Consumer is going to the shop and asking for that brand because it's delivered a promise. And so we're very excited, yeah.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Are we asking them a wrap-up question?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a thing whereby we asked the previous person that we've interviewed to give us a random question, completely random question.
I don't know if we had it the previous time we interviewed.
I
did.
don't- Did
Did
we?
we?
Yeah.
Did we?
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think I could answer it.
A random question, which is just a fun thing.
Yeah.
See how you want to
This is for Nick.
answer it.
Well, we just got this question from somebody. What would you do if you have only one day left to live?
Well,
The best answer would be I would eat kiwis till.
yes, well, that would be the best answer. Maybe not the
Not the honest one.
not the honest answer. No, I think if I had one day left to live, I think I'd try. I don't know if I always achieve that, but to live every day as if you have one day left to live, and just make the most of the opportunities that you have, I mean, I'm blessed in so many ways. Just to live life to the full, try and make use of every opportunity, and it's there's nothing special that I would like to do, because if I said that, I would tell myself, well, then you haven't been living properly. If you have to try and say, oh well, if I've got one day, then I would like to do that.
Yeah.
So I see it that I love every day as if it's my last day.
That's an excellent answer to a very deep curveball question. So thank you very much for
And
that.
they also didn't specify if you knew when that last day was.
No.
Yeah. If you knew, they said, right, in 5 days' time you're going to have one day left, then it's a different story. You can plan for that day.
Anyway.
But, yeah.
But thank you. That was actually, it's very well said,
Yeah.
because you'd get all kinds of different answers to that question. But thank you. Thank you very much for chatting to us.
Thanks for having
the
us.
best of luck with KiwiKo
Thank you.
and your exciting new varieties. And we look forward to see them growing. And we'll chat to you guys again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.